This is Huawei's newest flagship phone and it's the Pura 70 Ultra. And it's probably the best phone that you'll never buy. This video is brought to you by the Cooktech 20 power bank, and stay tuned till a little bit later on because this is a seriously impressive power bank. Anywhere you look at the Pura 70 Ultra, it screams flagship from its cameras, display, design. It also comes in 3 colors, black, brown and green, and they all have this vegan leather star-like design on the back, which when you first see it, you might think, oh, it's not for me, but as you spend a bit of time with it, it actually looks and feels really premium. And then you get to its camera design, and let's just say this is a little bit different. It's probably something that you've never seen before. Huawei call it a forward symbol design, and if you think you've seen this design before, it does look a little bit like a play button. And I've got to tell you, it is big, it's recognizable, but I have to give it to Huawei here because actually, you know that this camera is the Pura 70 Ultra, and we'll talk about that camera in a minute. I've been using the Pura 70 Ultra for about a week or so, and I've got to tell you, using this every single day, I've kind of grown to love it a little bit. But in terms of how this phone handles day to day, in the week that I've had it, I think it's really fun to use. The 5200 mAh battery pretty much lasts all day, and I've been using the camera to take photos and videos constantly the entire time that I've been in China, and yet it still hasn't even got close to running out. The display is vibrant and bright, and it's 120Hz LTPO, and it's a curved display and has crystal armor culling glass, which Huawei claims is 100% better drop resistant than the first gen. But I asked Huawei how they tested this, and they didn't really give me an answer, so this is something we might just have to trust Huawei on. There are a few disappointments with the Pura 70 Ultra though, and first of all, this will be available globally besides in the US, and because of that US ban, it still means that you can't get your Google apps on this phone, and yet you can easily download them from an APK, and I tried it, but with no Play services, it's pretty much impossible to use things like Gmail. But other apps like Instagram, Twitter, anything else you can actually still download from their app store. It also has satellite connectivity, which we've seen on other phones before, but sadly, this is only available in China and won't be coming to anybody outside of China. It's also lost support for NM cards as well this year, and I asked why to Huawei, and Huawei said it was part of their strategy. So you can come up with your own conclusion as to what strategy means. It's all powered by that Kirin 9010, which seems like a pretty small upgrade from the last generation on the P60, but performance of the phone day to day in just normal tasks, it seems pretty smooth and I have no complaints. And of course we need to do some more testing on this to see how it actually performs, but it does seem pretty power efficient, and it means that the battery can last all day. However though, if you do need to top up battery on your phone, then the Cooktech 20 power bank could just be the thing for you. This power bank delivers 140 watts of power, and it can fully charge your MacBook Pro 1.2 times. It has an intuitive TFT display that can keep you informed of real-time information like your battery level, power and voltage. It's also a really nicely designed power bank, and it's aeroplane safe, so you can take it with you wherever you might need. And in just 19 minutes, it can charge itself up to 40%. But if the Cooktech 20 power bank seems like a little bit of you, then check the description below for a link where you can pick one up yourself. There is one standout on the Pura 70 Ultra, and I literally mean standout because that is the camera. Huawei claims to have the world's first ultra lightning pop-out cameras, and of course we've seen cameras that can pop out before, but Huawei say this is the first ultra lightning. And if you're in like a quiet enough room, you can actually hear the sound of this camera popping in and out, and it does sound really nice, and this is something that Huawei are really pushing. It's also not as thick as other 1-inch sensors because of course it sits inside the body of the phone and retracts whenever you need to use it, and if you drop the phone, that pop-out sensor will automatically close on its own. And as for camera specs, they are as you expect on a flagship phone. So that main sensor is a 15 megapixel 1-inch f1.4 lens. You have a 40 megapixel ultra wide and a 50 megapixel 3.5 times optical zoom. The pictures that the Pura Ultra can take, honestly, they look good, like no matter what lens you use. The dynamic range looks pretty good. The highlights and lowlights are exactly what you're expecting, and it can capture some really decent detail even in low light. It has a really cool time-lapse feature, which I ended up doing in my hotel. And one of my favorite features so far on the camera is the macro lens, and you can get some really good detailed photos. I've played around with this so much since I've been in China, and I'm pretty impressed by it. The other impressive part of this phone is that 3.5 times optical zoom, and it works really well. And again, I'm a big fan of this. The 10 times zoom is digital, but you really don't lose that much from cropping in on that telephoto lens. And I'm also pretty sure there's some processing going on in the background somewhere, because when you zoom in past that 10 times, these photos seem to go from blurry to pretty usable photos. So there's something maybe with AI going on in the background yet, but that's not confirmed. There's also a snapshot mode on the Pura 70 Ultra, which means that you can take photos of a moving object, and once you take that photo, it looks like it is still in like mid-air. So Huawei say you can capture photos of objects going at 300 kilometers an hour. And I've tried it on a couple of things like cars and moving trees, and it works pretty well. It has some fun features as well. So for example, there's some eye-tracking wallpapers where you can kind of play like a game of tennis on the lock screen. It's a bit mad, but I quite like it. And it also has 80-watt wireless charging. But in terms of picking this up, it is going to be available in Europe and other places, and we don't know the UK price for this yet at the time of recording this video, but it is going to start at €1,499 for 16 gigs of RAM and 512 gigabytes of storage. And as far as we know, there's also going to be a 1 terabyte version available, but yet we don't have pricing exactly for how much that will cost. Huawei have promised 2 platform updates on the Pura 70 Ultra and at least 3 years of security updates, which is something you kind of expect. I said it at the start of the video, I think this is the best phone that you'll never buy, and I think just not having Google Play services is such a stumbling block. And yet you can add shortcuts on your phone to go to the web browser, but I think for a lot of people that's probably just going to be a little bit too much hassle, which is a shame because I really like this phone, but sadly I don't think it's going to sell as well as Google or Samsung outside of China. But let me know your thoughts in the comments on the Pura 70 Ultra. Does not having the Google Play services really put you off this phone? I'm curious to know. I'm curious to know whether you're going to get one of these. Of course, if you like the latest and greatest reviews on Android devices, then why not subscribe to the Android Authority YouTube channel before you head off? And if you do that, then I shall see you in our next video.